Hey, let's talk about how to get the backing angle of a California sleeper or blind valley. California means the easy way, like putting your foot down on your motorcycle and letting it slide is a California stop, but it was probably invented in Nebraska or back east somewhere. It's an old thing, it's been going on forever. Anyway, you've got to imagine that the valley and the hip are running parallel to each other, and you cut through them like sagittal cut like this, but square, and not just square, not plumb, but square to the front end. And the way that looks right here, and I'm just going to zoom in on this one here, square to the front end. From the point, this is the hip. That's the plumb cut with the double cheek cut by which you establish your backing angle. One of the ways would be the bottom end, I'll show you, but it's like this. You cut your double cheek cut first, then just square over. All your cheek cuts are gonna be on the bottom end. They're gonna be level, perpendicular to your plumb. So they're all gonna be level, and where they die into the side, that's gonna be the backing angle. But anyway, the California sleeper square to the end is all backing angles are established, as how all backing angles are established, because the saw cuts it to 90-degree angle to the board, if you will. So this is cut like that. So we're looking up the hip, and up the valley, and they're parallel to each other, right? And this is the backing angle, 18.43 degrees, which we established. And I'll show you again how we established this backing angle. And if you come down to the blind valley, you'll notice when it hits the plywood, this is the plywood, and that's your 2x12 laying flat. A level line would be the same as the backing angle, and that's because we back from the side of the hip, not the top with a swing table or something. It's too steep of an angle. And you do the same with the sleeper. You back from the top if you're able. And there's all these mechanisms you can do in order to, with a piece of plywood or whatever, to make it so that you have enough purchase to run your saw along the top. But you're doing the same maneuver where you're backing from this side, right? So you can see it's the same triangle. This little one and the sliver that's been cut off up top, they're the same, 18.43. And then if you're landing on an equal pitch, then you're just going to double it because it goes down the same 18.43. And so this backing angle is twice that of the hip. Fascinating, right? And yeah, and so just a real quick overview. There's different ways of looking at it, but here's the top of a 4x, you don't know what it's a 4 by what, but here's the side, 4 by 10 and 3.5, right? And this is the double cheek cut looking down on the top. And here's a 4 by 10 with no pitch on it, just double cheek cut, maybe for a deck or something. And then there's a 6/12 pitch, and there's a 12/12 pitch, and then there's an 18/12 pitch, right? And you'll notice similarity, which is that this parallel line is the same all the way down, and this 1.75 inches, which is half the thickness of the framing member, always half the thickness. If this was a 6x, it'd be 2.75, one direction, and 2.75 the other, which would be establishing this. So you would always go at a 90 to the plumb cut, which would be level, right? 1.75 in this case, 1.75, 1.75. Draw parallel lines at 90 to the plumb cut on the side, and you run your saw up down one side to the other at a 45-degree, establishing the double cheek cut first, and then squaring over and running a parallel line up the side. There it is there once again, double cheek cut first, and then squaring over, and then there'll be a square here that you haven't removed yet, and then just drawing a parallel line up the side and measuring it and measuring half the thickness and doing the math or your T-bevel or whatever, to establish what that pitch is, and then you instantly know your California sleeper pitch, assuming this is equal. The pitch that you're landing on is equal.